Okay, there. Okay, so I got into Java before there was even a JEE or J2EE. And so when the servlets came out, that's when I worked for this telco. I literally used the 1.0 servlet API and followed it all the way up in Java. And servlets ended up being Java's killer app. That's basically the app that really put Java everywhere. It wasn't applets, it was servlets. And so Spark is written in Scala on akka, and basically, if you want to maximize speed in Scala, in Spark, you use Scala. You can use Java and Python, but if you want to maximize, like if you're doing a huge problem in a large corporation with petabytes of data, you're going to be writing it in Scala because the other R and Python are both interpreted, and while Java is not interpreted, it's not native Scala, and so you can get more leverage out of Scala. So, all right, so we kind of got through the introductions, but I kind of want to get a sense for, if you didn't cover it already, what got you in here. So I know that Alvin's here for Scala and Spark. Are you interested in any of these other three things, data science, big data, or trying to install Spark locally?
I'm interested in anything good.
Okay, anything good. All right, Harold, I know you've got Scala and you're interested in Spark. Have you been chasing any data science or big data stuff? Oh yeah, you're at the meetings. I know you are. Never mind. Yeah. I know that. Yeah. Don't know why I asked that. Memory. So, okay, and it's Terry, correct? Yes. So I know you know about Scala because we've been working together for a while, but what about Spark, big data? Are you interested in the Spark thing? You're talking about huge amounts of data coming in. So, okay, got it. Installing Spark locally, are either one of y'all trying to do that?
I have it installed locally on one of my PC laptops.
Okay, got it. Have you done it? Have you done any install? Okay, good. And then what about you, Jennifer? Do you?
So I ran it locally and I did it in a Docker container as well.
Okay, got it. All right. And so you're definitely interested in the first two. So data science, big data. It sounds like your company is literally trying to explore that right now. So good. Okay, that got me caught up with everybody on that one.
Have you seen Druid at all?
No, it's Druid.
It looks interesting. Like it works with you can have Spark stream to it, and it for reporting and to do better real time analytics and stuff. I'm still exploring that too.
Okay, I will. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, I will definitely. Thank you. Yeah, anything like that, please bring it up. I will jot it down. In fact, most of this stuff will end up not personal. I won't take personal stuff and put it up, but anything general like a Druid suggestion or like if you go, hey, I've been using Zeppelin. Okay, Zeppelin. I'll drop those in as comments on the meetup each time we meet. That way you've got a way to go back and reference what we've already done. Okay, so the next thing is, I don't think we don't need to do this. We're going to end up covering this a little bit. So, have any of y'all used Apache Camel?
No.
Okay. All right. Then I'm not going to cover that in too much depth.
Apache Teak is the one that's for all the files types, right? Which one is Camel?
Camel is their, basically it's like a baling wire and duct tape mechanism for hooking Java processes together. So you can have like a process sitting there watching a file folder in Camel, and then it will pick it up and you can apply, say turn it, it's comma delimited, you turn it into tab delimited, and then you can aim that at something that goes and calls the SAS, and then that can actually pull all the things together back in the right order, and then essentially dumps back out, say, a text file with additional columns. So it will do far more complex things than that, but that's Apache Camel. And most of the events, in other words, you're basically creating this process, and it fires events, and when those events get filled in with custom Java that you write. So that's roughly it. It can also be custom Scala, but mostly it's Java. All right, I'm going to cover the rest of this in a bit. I'm not going to cover that this stuff right now. None of y'all have done Spark streaming, right? Has anyone touched Spark streaming yet?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll come. All right. So here are here's some things. Here's some links. I will post them, but these are the links for Spark itself. So here you can go see the general description. In fact, we'll just do that right now. thought we'd do that right now. Maybe I don't get to do that in presentation mode? Well, that's weird. I haven't had that happen before. Okay. Anyway, so it's an open, Apache Spark's an open source cluster computing framework, and so if you want to go in, this is a more readable, kind of generalized version of a look at Spark. All right, let's go back in here again, and then this is the main site, and then this is an FAQ if you want to go in and kind of get on some of the tangents around Spark. So these are the kinds of things we're going to be talking about and covering. In general, Spark covers the domain of big data. Data science is just a subdomain in analytics. So that's ingestion and analytics. So ingestion is any process for trying to get data in, mutating it, or fiddling around with it, so you can actually do analysis or reporting on it. And then of course analytics is anything that actually goes into the data and produces additional value, like machine learning algorithms or prediction algorithms, or trying to throw curves on things to figure out distributions, etc. Another name for ingestion has been ETL, and another name for analytics has been reporting. Batch processing, that's another name for a subset of ingestion. And then streaming, and I'm going to cover that later. Streaming is an interesting idea. And then data flows and data processing pipelines. So really, Spark is all about data processing pipelines. That would be a good summation of Spark. So why use Spark? It replaces a significant amount of boilerplate and busy work typically done in Java with Apache Camel. It's actually done lots of other places in lots of other languages, but once we get working with it, you'll see that there's so many things already pre-written in Spark that you don't have to write anymore. I'm tired of writing tab-delimited file importers. And essentially, they've got so many inputs, including JDBC, etc., that you just don't have to do that stuff anymore. So, I just said this about Apache Camel. One of the benefits, Apache Camel makes it very difficult. If you want to explore with a data space, it's very difficult to explore a data space without having your software engineer or your software and data engineers helping you. So your business and data analysts are constantly asking you to come over and tweak and touch crap that you just assume not tweak and touch again because they're doing exploration. So one of the things that Apache Spark offers is a nice clean separation between the people who have to actually do the implementation stuff and the people who are trying to actually analyze and generate business value from the data itself. Okay. So the streaming architecture and design that's in Spark 2.0, it just got released. Spark 2.0 is not even, it's this time last week it got, or maybe it was a week and a half ago, it got released. So the most interesting thing about the streaming architecture in 2.0, streaming was in prior, 2.0 makes it so that whether a source is just something you look at or something that is something that's being updated via streaming, it no longer matters in the rest of the pipeline. You used to have to be aware of streaming separated from not, now you don't have to. And so it's ingenious how they were able to take the two APIs and glue them together. And so essentially you can now have an infinite table. So you can write all your logic on a table that's technically infinite. And what that happens is each time this table gets updated from whatever the stream is, it's sending events, and these are basically grabbing whatever the state of that table is at that date timestamp, and then the rest of the pipeline operates on it. The stream continues to operate, and so the next time someone asks for information, it will cause it to grab the next finite capture of that table, even though the table is continuing to grow. And so all your logic is that you write it as though it's a fixed size table. You don't have to worry about the fact that the table is expanding in size. That's a breakthrough, by the way, design. Nobody has that anywhere else. That's unique to Spark. And so, and it's fast as hell. It's unbelievable. Again, I don't know how much coding you've done in this area. If you have had to do where you have to watch a data source and continually keep basically your views and everything updated as a result of the changing. It's a lot of code and a lot of boilerplate, and so a lot of things got eliminated with this design. Okay, this last thing basically is just describing the benefit of the business and data analysts being able to fiddle around on their own, independent of the system, to generate new value and then deploy it into production and have it scale up. That's really what that's describing. Okay, so these are resources. These three things, so like I said, I'm only 7 weeks in this process. 7 weeks ago, I downloaded Spark and installed it on my desktop, and it's arduous putting it on Windows. It was arduous for me at home on my Windows box. And so it's also, I've got a hefty box. My laptop is crap, and so I originally was going to install it on this thing, but this laptop barely can run this presentation, and so I have since given up on that. So that exposed me to something else called Databricks. Is anyone familiar with Databricks in here? You are? Do you know Databricks? No?
I just heard of it. Don't know much about it.
All right, so the cool thing about Databricks is they have a free account, and I highly recommend you get one. Instead of having to install Spark here, they've already installed Spark on AWS. And then they handle everything having to do with, does it need new nodes? Does it need to, they'll handle the expanding and contraction, etc. They have a community version, a community edition, and if you get that, you get 6 gig, I think, for free, and then you can play in that in your sandbox, and you can play with S3. If you happen to have your own Amazon account, which I do, you can have that particular community edition go over and reach into your S3 buckets, or if you've got a database sitting over there, it'll reach into it. And so that's what I'll be using to present instead of doing my own local version of Spark now. So that developed in the time since I wrote up the meeting invite. Elephant SQL. So one of the things that they haven't done, I don't understand why. I haven't asked the question yet, but most of the stuff I do with data is in relational databases or in NoSQL databases. I don't do very much with flat files, and I don't do a whole lot with like the Twitter feed. They're like, oh, here's an example of the Twitter feed. I'm like, oh, that's really nice, but I can't imagine a business case for me to attach to a Twitter feed. But I can imagine attaching to, say, a PostgreSQL database, or Oracle, or MySQL. So this is, Elephant SQL is another company, also on AWS, that has PostgreSQL up. You can get a Tiny Turtle account with them. It's free. You end up with, I don't remember the sizing on it. It's way more than I need to play around with. And so that's free. So I highly recommend getting that account and setting it up. It's completely JDBC friendly. And then, and so all they do though is manage the instance for you. There's no, they've got a single tiny little SQL text box, and you could try and work with your database through that text box. I don't recommend it. Instead, I recommend using this local Java, it's written in Java client, and it's called Squirrel SQL Client. And it's really nice. It basically looks like this. And so what you do is you attach to it. So I got my PostgreSQL driver working, and then once I got that driver working, I created an alias, and that alias is pointing at my Elephant SQL database, and you can see here are the tables that I currently have sitting in that data set. And so this is a nice interactive way. It's kind of like on Visual Studio, the SQL Server Studio in Visual Studio. Yes, exactly. And so this is just like a generified version, and it's not as powerful. Very nice with Elephant SQL, but this is I've got the plugin for Postgres actually included as well, and so it knows Postgres specifically and is able to do the extra stuff. So here's my tables I've already put in it. Okay, so as I'm moving forward, I want you to know kind of what the framework is that we're doing, that I'm working with. Okay, so next, actually let me pause. Any questions? Any Anything?
Oh, I just got a comment. I used Oracle SQL Developer like about 6, 7 years ago, and I thought it only worked with Oracle. I got JDBC drivers for SQL. What's Microsoft's one?
SQL Server?
SQL Server, and the Sybase one. It worked with that also. Just
Well,
because there was a,
JDBC is generic, so as
Yeah.
long as they wrote against JDBC, it should all work.
right.
Yeah.
So might be able to use SQL Developer with to connect to this Postgres.
Yeah. Well, Oracle charges for their stuff, and
No,
so
that's free. That's free.
Oh, didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been using the Squirrel SQL client now for 13, 14 years,
okay.
so that's why, it's open source. But back a long time ago, Oracle didn't give anything away for free. So,
Yeah.
so I'm glad to hear they've joined the rest of us. I'm now used to something else. So, but that's worth putting up on the site. Okay, so here's the business case. That I think similar to the thing you had, Jennifer. So what ended up happening is I'm working with a client, and they have their owner has just gone on a spending spree and has bought numerous other real estate companies. They now have 5 appraisal systems internally, 2 property management systems, a title system. There's others. I'm for the sake of making this fit on one page, I didn't include all the others. And so obviously they're now having a challenge trying to summarize what's going on in their organization for the CEO. And so IT's been told they've got to integrate the various foreign IT systems. Well, these systems, once they produce information, it must be auditable. So they can't go back and fix it. So if one of the appraisal systems has 123 Main Street and another one has 123 Martin Luther King Boulevard or 123 Main, no street, they can't go back and edit that. These are legal documents and legal capture, and so they have to be able to glue these systems together without going back and modifying the actual source data. Does that make sense? Kind of following the reasoning there? Okay. So, secondly, they need to be able to have someone go on when they're investigating a particular case. They have to start and they have to go. Basically, it's like, which system do we even look in for the particular case that we've got? It's not an obvious reverse. Are you following that? In other words, if there's an appraisal, they have to go through all 5 systems to find which system the appraisal came from. Does that make sense? That's one of the. It's technically not that hard, but that's one of the use cases they were talking. They needed solved. Okay, so we need to enable one-off verification and checks for existence across all systems. Allow navigating from a particular location entry on one IT system and see the related in the other IT systems if it exists in those systems. Keep it as close to real-time sync of the data. And so each of these systems have different characteristics about how they're updating. And so being able to capture, there's a period of time when an appraisal is editable and then it closes off and then it's no longer editable. And so they need to be able to capture those changes during that mutable period. And then, and then the only thing they have between these systems, because they're different companies, there's no other accounting mechanism that links them, and so it's some form of USPS street address. Okay, so now we can start diving into, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to dive in. Let's watch time here. Okay. So the text files as a CSV polling from JDBC sources and organic, this is describing the ingestion phase. So this typically is called ETL. It's the weekly type ingest data sources. So essentially at this phase everything is strings or very, very simple ideas like ints. You might have dates, more sophisticated stuff from JDBC, but in general this is a weekly typed phase. Does everyone know what weekly typed is? Does anyone not know what weekly typed is? You good? Okay, we'll move on. So, all right. So the strongly typed phase means, so at this point what you've done is you have a data lake that has a much stronger type guarantees on the data that you've ingested, and including containing JSON. And then finally, an analysis data lake. These are terms I learned from the Spark guys. This idea of a data lake, and it's like a data warehouse, but apparently it's they're moving to data lake and away from data warehouse because that has specific meanings in the Oracle old world. So this is one of the things they did. And the strongly typed.
We have a data puddle.
Yeah, I pretty much have a data drop at the moment. That's awesome though. Yeah, that's good. So, all right, but if you'll notice as I went across these, this isn't the ingest phase, this is the ingest phase, and then this is the analysis phase, right? And so the idea is this is the data raw in the world. This is the data transformed so that we can we've made sense of it. And then this is the data that this is what we're going to do our analysis on top of. And so, okay, so I'm gonna all right, that's the next slide. So we'll get here in a second. All right, so let me pop out here. Okay, so here's Databricks. So this is Spark on AWS. And so the way Databricks works is you work inside the browser. And so I've already created a notebook. Oh, I got it. Okay. So before you can go to a notebook, I bet it says that to me, doesn't it? Workspace. Ah, it's when I try and rerun it. Yes.
Jim, can you make the text a little bit bigger, please?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me when. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
'cause
it.
yeah.
So what happened is it actually started this cluster right here. And so this cluster is a Spark 2.0 cluster. It's on AWS. And so it's creating it right now. And so it takes anywhere from, oh, well, okay, it takes about 30 seconds to run it. And so when it does that, then back on my notebook, well, that wasn't what I wanted. There we go. So now these guys should be running. How about you stop? Uncanceling, you have a single L? Maybe not. It's a weird word. Okay, so canceled and command skipped. Okay, so this is a notebook, and so you literally enter. That's a command that I typed in, and so yeah, ignore that command for the moment, unfortunately. So we'll come down here. So this is where you can type. We're inside a notebook, and you can type Scala. So you can literally type anything you want, like val x equals 1 plus 1. How about not that? And then you hit Control Enter, and it will run it. So you saw, I mean, that's nothing really sophisticated, just to show you that the Scala is working. Okay, so now what I did is, now let's see if this runs. There we go. All right, so let's go here. So, I was wanting to delete this cell. Well, let's just do this. Maybe it makes it more. I don't want to comment on this. I don't want to comment on the cell. I just want to close it. Okay, that seemed to work. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm not. This interface is a little bit newish for me. Okay, so these are two tab files I loaded. Their network here is not very fast. At least my machine's not very fast on this network. I can't tell if it's my machine or this network. But so earlier today, or actually this was yesterday, I loaded these two files in. And so they're tab delimited files. So you can see one's a gig and the other one's 900 megabytes. So these are tab delimited files. So, all right, so let's go down here. I'm not going to need this. So I want to right, so what I want to do, val, data frame for the tab delimited, and that's going to be 1, is equal to, and then, crap, I can't remember the name command for, you don't happen to remember the command for wrapping up a tab file, do you?
I have one for CSV.
It's good, that's good enough. Actually, tabs are considered CSV, it will use the same command. It's like load, right? It's sc dot, how about sc dot? Well, that's a Spark context. Well, that's not doing it either. Normally it does a little help for you. I probably should have looked that up before I got.
I did, so you should hit dot read, so your sc dot read, I believe.
Like that?
Yeah. And then you dot schema, if you're gonna,
So I want this right here. And just put that in quotes here, correct? It's not giving me the, like when I hit the dot, normally it gives me what I'm supposed to be able to type. Oh, awesome.
oh wait, so I defined the schema. You can
Oh,
also-
yeah, you can, most of that defaults, so.
Oh yeah, you don't have to, I was just playing around.
Spark Session Builder, so you created
So-
your own session builder, okay.
Well, I had to create my, if you're not doing it in like a notebook, you have to create your own Spark context, but you already have that. So Spark is my Spark context.
I see, so SC is supposed to be mine, I thought. All right, let's try that, see what it does. Not found Spark context.
Well, so it's dot read dot CSV.
Oh, I see. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it doesn't know Spark context. I thought it was SC, that's what I
It is
kept
SC.
trying, okay.
That's
I
what
do like it. Dang it, I wish I'd have remembered my commands from my other one. I played and I assumed I would remember them. All right, let me look that up right quick. How about data? Data, rex, load, CSV.
What version of Spark is that running? in the-
2.0.
Or is it
Yeah, SC is it.
SQL? Or is it SQL context? Well,
No,
yeah,
no.
SC.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, that's
there's
it.
one too.
That's dot read dot format. Oh wait, that's not for Spark 2.0. This is for, because in Spark 2.0, this is in there by default. You don't have to import the Databricks. Spark. Does it show an example for Spark 2.0?
Yeah, that's the Spark 1.4, 1.3.
Yeah.
It should be, I don't, they said there was no specific difference.
Well, in Spark 2.0, this Databricks library, I think, is bundled in with it.
Okay, got it. Oh, I see. Okay, meaning that it's pre-imported.
Yeah. So I think the structure is a little different when you follow it. But regardless, you're not getting your Spark context. What's the...
Yeah, so normally you just hit Spark context and hit return, and that's all. All right, let's try that next. Let's do that. And, yeah, let's just do that. It is Spark context, so that is SC. So dot,
Yeah, it's having problems with the read.
load. I just want a data frame to wrap it, but I'm not, okay, let's go back over here and let's go to workspace introduction. Oh, that was something I didn't cover earlier. I was going to show it, that's why. Well, that was what I wanted. There we go. What about that? There is the load. SQL context read. Okay, so apparently they do it with the SQL context. I get it's SQL context.read. So I will just do this. And then I will do, apparently I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have to, I think, actually, SQL context is supposed to be imported, isn't it?
Yeah, you're supposed to, that's right, your Spark context, you have to create the SQL context.
Yep. So control copy. Okay. So glad you're here. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the workspace and this temp and let's go here. So now I'm just going to say this goes here. Header is true, info schema, true, load data path. What's the load data path?
That's your DBFS.
Well, what's this right here then?
Control Z, and that was a Databricks library. So that makes me question if you're running Spark 2.0. Because if you do Control Z and put it back, it was column.databricks or something. That's their Spark CSV library.
Well, oh, I see what you're saying. That's I see what you're saying. Where so and
So
this is where I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dang it. Which I probably hit Control C. Control C. Or I could actually just say this. Val. Data path. A lot of things to get right in a row. All right, so there's data path, there's SQL context, read, format. I'm going to need to assign that to something. So, val, data frame for tab delimited 1 is equal to. I don't need these backslashes, I don't think. Well, I'm going to leave that. Let's see what it does. Okay. It did it. That's great. Wait a minute. It took it all in as a single string. I wonder, do I have to do tab separated?
There's some options you can set.
Yeah, it called it all in as a single string, missing the tabs. So I wonder, I'll just try tab. Will that work? Nope.
I think you can add another dot option. Let's see.
Ah, that says do, oh, separator, that's what it is. Dot option separator.
It's delimiter.
Or delimiter. Dot option, open quote, delimiter. And then it's,
Close the quote. Yeah.
and then do I have to do backslash T?
We tried.
That's it, and 21 more fields. That's fantastic. Okay, good. Yep, it was successful. Okay, so, all right, so what we've got in Spark is an interesting separation. I wonder, I don't think I can get both of those up at the same time. Let me see that. I'm going to try. Okay, maybe we can. Oh, yeah. Okay, so one of the interesting things about Spark is it has a distinction between the two types of commands that you're running. There's transformations, you notice the word lazy there, and can you see that? Is that visible? Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, and then actions. And so what's interesting about this is that Spark doesn't actually execute anything except when you give it an action. If you do a transformation, what you're doing is you're telling Spark, you're setting up a plan for Spark to execute something. Does that make sense? So when I executed this right here, it didn't actually read the file in. Actually, it wrote a time. You okay?
Yeah.
So this read format, what it actually does is it created a data frame, and this data frame is information that says when this data frame has an action performed on it, not a transformation, when it has an action performed on it, go actually get the contents of this file and begin working with the contents of the file. So it's called lazy evaluation, which is part of what Scala does itself. Okay. So let's make another command, and let's, actually, I don't even remember. Oh, we can do a display. Display. Is it
You do
limit?
You do dot show or something like that. You would, or,
And it's like show 10, right? If I want to show the first 10 rows. All right, we're going to try that.
yeah, I think if you do dot show, it won't show all of them. But
Oh, I wonder if it's the other way around. If you do display as one way, it shows the other way. Is that what it was? They had two different. Yes, that actually shows down. So that's really, oh, because the table's so freaking huge. Yeah, only showing the top 10 rows. Rotate works. Ah, by doing take, now we've got row objects. No, we don't. We have an array. It goes to right there. That's, I guess it's, oh no, that's right. It's an array of row. Yep. And apparently a row, it looks like it may just simply be an array. Okay, lost control of the mouse there. There we go. Okay, so I need something to make that more easily able to be seen. See how this has got, how do I cause it to be, how do I oh, that's display. That's why I display. That's what causes that to show up. Display. DFTD1. Control enter. There we go. So now we can actually see it in, that's weird. Their scroll bars keep doing weird stuff. And then I make it worse. There we go. So now you can see it actually split into the columns. And so when I did, I think when you do this, you want to make sure that you do something like this, so that it doesn't, like I think it only did, or it did.
1,000.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, there it is right there, yep. So if you don't want it to like flood you, you can do that.
You didn't close, so let's see.
There we go, okay. Wow, okay, it's taking a little longer than I expected, sorry about that. So now what we can do is, this is the Texas. So we've got,
Did you have a header row?
I thought I did, but look, the columns are named weird.
When you
They were okay before, right?
when you imported, you said option header row true. Huh.
I do have, I think I have a header.
Oh, you said take 10.
Oh
right?
yeah, maybe when you take 10, because
So it took 10 random ones?
it took 10 the array.
Right. So, well, let's just do this again and see what it does. Yep, you're right. So the take, apparently, so I wonder if there's another way to pass display and tell it to only limit without actually leaving the data set alone, because that's exactly what I wanted right there. Okay, so, oh my goodness. So what I would like to do is limit by zip. So here's the zip code column. So one of the, I want to, wow, we're doing really boring stuff, sorry. This is going to take a little longer than I had planned for tonight. So, VFTD1, I want to, I'm going to need another one of these. Val, DFTD1 filtered is equal to, so at this point, I have a data frame, correct? So I should be able to tell it that I want to filter. Actually, we probably should do a SQL context. We can do combining too many things. Let's do I don't know how to filter. I don't remember how to do it. I know how to do it SQL faster than I know how to do this.
Yeah, I'm like, if to, I think if you do, DF, okay, so that one dot, create or replace temp view. And then just give, it's temp view VI. Yeah, and then give your table a name. And then in the next line, you can do Spark context or SQL context. So that's the end of, so that's a command.
Oh, I got it. And then,
And so now you can do, select star from blah, where zip equals, I think it was actually SQL context.
like this?
No, like you had a top, it's,
Oh, here.
yeah.
Well, I don't need to make a variable for it then.
No.
Right. So instead,
But you can create a variable if you want to, because the result's going to be a data frame.
that's right. So, and then really, this is not a data frame. Well, what is this?
Yeah, you don't need that top val. You just need,
Oh, right, because that's returning a unit, and this is where we're temporarily storing it in Spark itself.
yeah.
Okay, and now I do a SQL context. Yeah, I want a data frame on this one. Let's go type df.
SQL, whatever your SQL is.
Right, which can be select star from blah where zip code Yeah, just literally by its name, is equal to 75039. Let's see if there's anything in that zip code.
Don't know if you need those enterprise